Well, hello everyone. My name is Kevin Porman, and you're seeing how the sausage is made here on my screen. Let me get back over to, the code for codeLive. I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce, and I have with me today Beth, and I know her as Beth Brains. I'm trying to figure out if I can say your last name without massacring it. Do you just want to introduce yourself and save me that little bit of grace?
Sure. I'm Beth Breisness, and I am a developer on the Salesforce.org products team.
And I forget, I think we met at Forcelandia like 5 years ago, something like
I
that.
was going to say approximately a million years ago, but yeah, something
Yeah,
like that, a
yeah.
while back.
And we've been talking about doing a code live for a bit. So we're going to do one today on metadata relationships. But before I jump into that, I want to give you an insight into Beth Brains here. When I
Oh
was
no.
doing, yeah, I just my favorite Beth story. I was doing a bit of a Trailhead module write up, and I asked her to review my Apex code, and she left me the most like snarky comments about my crappy variable names. And ever since then, I've had like this voice in my head when I'm typing out a variable name. You may see me like on Code Live start typing a variable name and then like back up and start up again because she would leave me these like, what does that variable even mean? At least three letters, and it was great. It was great. Um, so,
Yep.
Beth, we're going to be working with metadata relationships, entity lookups, and
Yeah.
when you were walking me through part of this, I remember thinking, wait, we can what? So there's some mind-blowing
hmm
moments in this. Do you want to sort of like toss out our sort of concept and problem domain, so that I can be snarky in the background as you explain it?
Sure. So the idea here is, you know how on opportunity and case we have these pick lists, but then within that pick list, there's sort of two groups of values. So with opportunity, you have opportunity stage, and then some of those are closed and some of those are open, but that just sort of happens in the background. It's just sort of magic, and the platform knows what to do with those values. In fact, opportunity actually even then has closed won and closed lost, right? So there's sort of three different groupings behind the scenes of a pick list. And then on case, case status does the same thing, open and closed. And when you create a new case status, you say, is this an open status or a closed status? So when we create a custom pick list on any object, we don't have that capability to add that second layer of information to those values. So what we were thinking about building today was a way to implement that using custom metadata.
So we'll be able to say this is this pick list value is one of sort of a meta pick lists, or a related pick list value, a bucketed pick list, as it were. Part of the part of the
Bucketed
discussion,
pick list. I like that. Yeah.
bucketed pick list. Part of the discussion we had when we were trying to come up with how to phrase all this is this is kind of like there's not clear language existing to talk about it. So bucketed pick list is what we've come up with.
Right.
So how do
Yeah.
we jump into that and start building out our bucketed pick list system? And I feel like if you're not quite on board with what we're working on today, by the time we're done, I hope you'll be like, "Oh, I get it now." Because bucketed pick list is kind of a
Right.
thing. Okay?
It's a
Uh,
bit nebulous. Yeah.
it's a bit nebulous. It's a bit nebulous. So how do we get started on that?
All right. So let's just throw out one quick use case example just to have something to anchor on.
Oh, okay.
What about if we had, say, a record that represented attendance at an event? And so there's lots of different ways of attending. You can attend, you can be absent, you could have an excused absence or an unexcused absence. You might have a partial attendance, right? There's all these shades and nuance of your attendance status.
Partial
But
attendance?
ultimately, if we, like, you attended half the day, attended school
Oh,
half the
okay. I was
day, that might be
like
relevant.
you don't get full marks if you
Yeah.
went to the restroom. I was confused there. That makes more
No,
sense though,
maybe
like
your
half a
arm went
day.
to class.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you were there for part of the event, and the organization may want to track that for some reason.
Makes
But
sense.
ultimately, say we're doing roll-ups or reporting. Reporting, you've got bucketing, so that is maybe you can get away without the solution in reporting. But say we wanted to do roll-ups and we wanted to say what was the attendance rate, and so we want to bucket all those different shades of attendance status into like attended, didn't attend. Right? We don't care if it was excused or unexcused or partial or whatever. You weren't there the whole time. You're one bucket, and then you were there the whole time. You're the other bucket.
And this is sort
So
of
that can be our sort of anchor use case.
our concrete use case backing to that idea
Yeah.
where in opportunity or case, you've got several pick list status fields that all map to closed or open.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So attendance, and we can have some fun with partial attendance.
So the first thing we need to do is create some custom metadata types.
And how would you like to go about doing custom metadata types?
I think we should go into our org and create the custom metadata types in the setup UI. How does that sound?
Sounds good, but to do that, we're going to have to do a little bit of flipping around here. So, because you're going to share your screen to drive this. And so everyone say bye to Beth, and we'll hear her, but we won't see her for a little bit.
Bye-bye.
And I'm going to flip.
Uh-oh. Yep, I think so. Yeah, so go ahead. Uh, I did not do that. Shall we do that real quick? Well, I mean, we could throw the pick list on any object. It doesn't really matter, but we should have a pick list. How about let's just do a pick list on contact just for expediency. So we're going to go create. Wow, I'm going really fast. Tell me to slow down. I should slow down. We're going to create fields. All right, pick list. Uh-oh. He's on it. He's trying. Is that any better? He's testing. Oh no.
Second.
He's working on it. Give him a sec.
Testing. Why are we not getting...
This is live, folks.
This is live. This is how you know it's live. Apparently,
So you know we didn't record.
apparently today she'll be working on custom metadata relationships, and I'll be dealing with audio. So I'm having some audio difficulties when I
can
switch
still
to scene.
Oh.
So if I share your screen, I have I lose my audio. Oh wait, there we go. Are we still having audio? All good? Can you both? Can we hear?
All good.
Everybody hear everyone? I love it. It's magic.
Yay!
Technology is hard. Let's go shopping.
All right. So we've got our pick list field here. I think you were going to poll the audience for some nuanced attendance status values for our pick list.
Yep. Let's see here. We've got let's highlight our attendees here. Let's just use their usernames.
Oh.
Yeah. So we got Yoder.
Simplified.
Coder.
We're gonna have to recreate. We're gonna have to retype these in the custom metadata. So
Oh no. Let's
give me simple version.
Yeah. Let's actually let's not do that then. Let's do partial and full and was asleep.
Oh, okay.
Excused, or asleep, excused, unexcused absence.
I love that.
Yeah, it'll sound like college classes. Was there,
adequately snarky,
but asleep.
All right. So wait, so then that'll be interesting. Which category does asleep go in? Did they attend or did they not attend?
I think that's not
all
attending.
Right. So we will just accept all our defaults here. Great. Okay, so we have a pick list. It happens to be on contact. That isn't quite realistic, but just for expediency. Fun fact, if you go to the quick find, if you type meta, custom metadata types is the only thing that comes up. So nice little shortcut. There's some things that you think you're searching, but then 15 items still come up in the menu, and it's not terribly helpful.
One of the things that I've wanted to do for a while that has been sort of like when I get time is to create a plugin for Chrome that automatically turns off the actual menu, so you have to use the quick find.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah, I never use the carrots. I always just type in the quick find.
I love how you call it the carrots.
So that's what they are. These little things. They're carrots.
You're totally right. You're totally
right. So Kevin, what is custom metadata? Do we want to give a quick explanation? What are we doing here?
Yeah, so custom metadata is one of those things that's so simple it's hard to explain.
Yeah, that's so true.
My 2-year-old is like, "Daddy, why do I breathe?" I'm like, that's hard to explain. It's harder to explain than you think it should for something that is, required for life.
Totally.
So custom metadata is a way for you, the developer or the admin, to create a bit of metadata that you can then create records for. So it's not quite an object, but it's kind of an object, and there's a little bit of customized rules that go into this. But for instance, you can ship, put in a package and deploy it through a package, records of a custom metadata type, as well as the actual custom metadata.
Right. So what does that make those records? They're not, even the records of this type that we're building are metadata.
Yeah.
They're not data. We're building what is essentially a custom object, and we're going to populate that custom object, but the records we populate it with are still metadata. They're still rules that are driving your application. They're not records within your database, even though they kind of are. It's very meta.
Yeah. It's somebody. Asim, I see your question. Does it work like a custom setting? Yes, no, kind of, sort of, not really. You can't deploy a custom setting record.
Right.
But
that's the difference.
A custom metadata record.
It works like a list custom setting.
Yes.
Except you can package them and deploy them. So that's really hierarchy custom settings definitely still have a use case in the platform. But if you find yourself reaching for a list custom setting, you really should look at custom metadata first, because I can almost guarantee that it's going to be a better solution. We're going to create our bucketed pick list, which is going to be, we talked about, that's going to be our object, our metadata type. And this is going to be our parent. We're actually going to end up with 3 different metadata types here. So This is going to be our parent, and this is going to represent like the behavior of that particular pick list. So eventually we could actually have multiple of these bucketed pick lists in our org. So we could have, an attendance one over here, an attendance status one, and then maybe we have a, whatever other foo attendance on the other side.
Now, we talked about
So
these
now
being
you can
meta,
see,
and we said that we're
yeah.
going to have 3 layers deep. So I'm going to have
Mm-hmm.
to inject the obligatory, we have to go deeper joke.
It's turtles. It's turtles all the way down.
Inception.
So here's another fun thing to point out. It might be a little bit small, but you can see that our quote unquote custom object here, instead of _C, we have _MDT for metadata type, I think is what that technically stands for. And then just like on a custom object, we're going to create some custom fields. So we're going to go in here under new custom field. This is such a thing of beauty.
Okay, 1 second.
Metadata relationship.
ASIM is asking, can we use custom metadata in a managed package? Why, yes, you can.
Yes, absolutely. And there may be a use case for you to just package the type. There may also be a use case for you to package records within that type. You can do both layers, and on the records, you can lock down certain things, let the admins update certain things. You have quite a bit of control over what you as the ISV control versus what the admin can control.
Who can see what and when.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who can change and create and delete what and when.
And so we've got a metadata relationship as our data type here. What is that?
So that's a new data type for folks who haven't seen custom metadata before. So let's just read the description and see if we can grok it. So it says creates a relationship that links this custom metadata type to another metadata type, an entity definition, or a field definition. So what this is basically doing is letting you look up to another metadata entity. And that might be another custom metadata type, which we'll do in a moment. Or in this case, we're actually going to create it to look up to an S object, which here is called entity definition. So what we're going to do, yeah.
This is one of those moments where I went, what? I can do that?
Oh, sorry, not contact, object.
Okay.
See, typos.
Objects.
That wasn't even a typo, that was just a mistake. So this is our, we can even, well, not parent object really, it's just object. It's the object that your pick list is on.
So our bucketed pick list or our source pick list?
Ours, well, that's the same thing.
Well, okay, that's true.
Because only our code is going to have the buckets. Right. Yeah, so it's like, where did we just create that pick list that we're going to bucket in code?
Okay.
So we're going to call it object. That's the field.
We don't want to make it required or anything?
Nah. Okay. Well, yes, I suppose it should be required. You're right.
This is my way of getting back at you for variable naming comments. Like, should we make it required? All right.
And then we need to tell it which field on that object is what we care about.
So we can do that metadata relationship not only to the object itself, but also to a field on the object. So when we grab the list of custom metadata types of our bucketed pick list, we'll have records that say account or contact attendance, right? That's sort of our concrete example. All right. So we're gonna...
and so you can see here, I have to select the controlling field. So if I have a lookup to a field, you have to have also a lookup to an object and then you have to select the object first. It's like a, what's that called with pick list? Controlling pick list? Dependent pick list. It's like a dependent pick list.
Okay.
So you'll see that when we actually go to populate these records, it's going to be like a dependent pick list. So now we have our field. The controlling field is object.
I hate to ask, but should that one be required too?
Yeah, probably. But we're just going to be good.
Fair.
And I'm sorry if you hear some banging. I happen to have some contractors had to come in this morning. So again, this is live.
Awesome.
Yeah, if it gets bad, I will mute when I'm not actively talking.
It's all
All
good.
right, so we're gonna have fields, and then we're gonna have objects. What else do we need? That might be it for this level
Okay.
of the metadata. So then we're going to go create another metadata type. So I'll pop back out here. So now we need to create a metadata type for each bucket within this bucketed pick list. So you can see we're sort of at a child layer now. So I'm going to call it bucketed pick list bucket category. What do you want to call it? Bucketed pick list bucket, sort of redundant.
Yeah, let's do pick list bucket. Or, I mean,
Sure.
naming things is hard.
It is.
We always joke
super hard
about it, but it's harder than, yeah. Okay.
It's so hard. All right. So now we're going to have pick list bucket.
And I'm guessing we're going to
which is like each bucket. Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that we're going to sort of adjust this so that we see the relationship from our pick list bucket to our bucketed pick list metadata type.
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is create a metadata relationship to that other custom metadata type to say, like, who's the parent? So which pick list does this bucket belong to? So it's just like creating a lookup to a parent.
So we got a question from Donald.
Yeah.
Does this mean that custom metadata relationship is lookup to current SF org or external SF org? I ask since custom metadata type is typically used for config, and I'm not sure that I'm following the question quite right because it's all internal to one org. There's not an external SF
all
org
internal
here.
to one org.
But it's not. You can have these custom metadata relationships not only between other custom metadata types, but also any metadata in your org. I say any, but there may be some restrictions. I think it's pretty much any metadata in your org. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've done a little bit of audio balancing here. But let's see if people are.
All right.
You're saying you were a little loud, so I pulled you down a little bit.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Okay. So.
All right. So I went to create another field. We created the lookup to the parent, to the bucketed pick list. Then the next thing we need to do is basically just give a name to the, actually, could we use the name field? Hang on, I'm going to cancel out of here.
The name field of what?
We probably want like a separate label. Maybe, I don't know. So it's the name of the bucket, right? Like we just need a name for this,
attended,
for the bucket.
attended.
We need like attended, didn't attend. Yeah, exactly. So there is already the custom metadata record name, which you can see this is sort of reminiscent of like record types where the field name is developer name. I don't recall if developer name can have spaces in it, which might be relevant. It also has a max character limit of 40, so we might want a separate like label field. What do you think?
Let's do a separate label field.
Actually, wait, master label. What am I doing?
Yeah, look at
it's
that.
right here.
But it's still limited to 40.
Still 40. Well, let's go with it for now, but just know that you could throw other custom fields on here.
Mm-hmm.
You could add a longer text string if you needed to.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. So that's pretty much all we need for like the bucket level.
Okay.
Now our third and final level is which pick list values belong to that bucket.
So it's
right?
kind of a mapping.
It is. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have one final metadata type, which will be bucketed pick list value. Let's just call it that. All right.
Some people are saying I've got some weird
And
targeting things going on my face from my camera. My camera is being a little. It may have achieved sentience and is trying to execute me. So it may be targeting me, or it may just be going crazy. There's camera's been a little wonky. So we've created this.
so so
Go ahead.
yeah, so we need to make this like a grandchild. So we're going to do one more metadata relationship. This one is going to go to pick list bucket, right? So now I'm at the grandchild, so I want the child, which we called pick list bucket, as my parent.
Okay.
And that will do that. And then we need a way to, again, we could probably just use label to store the value, like the actual pick list value. But if you needed to get more nuanced, you could create more custom fields.
Right.
But I think this is like the minimal implementation.
So what we have is, well, don't we need to have the value? So we've got pick list bucket.
But that we could store in the master label.
No. I mean, so we'll have attended, and then we have to have the value that we want that to map to, right?
That's the lookup to the bucket.
Oh, because we'll have an attended bucket and an unattended bucket?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that makes way more sense.
Hey, light bulb.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
Yeah, so basically having, like, you probably could do this with 2 layers of custom metadata, but then you're going to be relying on either a pick list here on one of those layers to represent the buckets, or a string mapping, like, and trusting yourself to type things correctly, which, let's be honest, none of us do. So I find it better to actually go ahead and have like the overhead of that middle layer actually be a custom metadata type.
Gotcha. I like it. So
yeah. And there's other things like, is this one, required, or like there might be other attributes of that you need a full object to store them on. But certainly there is an even more, to be fair, there is a more minimal implementation of this with only 2 layers, but I like the 3-layer version.
3 layers. I mean, it's like 3-layer cake. 3-layer cake is always better than 2-layer cake, right? Just you get more ice.
Yeah.
It's better. It's better.
Yeah.
So we've got our thing, and now we can go in and we can start filling some of this out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is my least favorite part of custom metadata types. Where do I go to fill things out, Kevin? Where would you go?
I would click on manage records, but that's because I've done this before. But normally I would think I should be able to click on, pick list bucket to get to it there, but no.
I think maybe there's a button from there.
Did we put a button there?
Yeah, manage buckets. Yeah,
okay,
there is.
Look at that.
But you can get there. There's a shortcut on the left, that link, manage records or manage. Yeah, I think it said manage records. So we come in here, and yes, this UI is, not the best, like not the most beautiful, but it gets the job done. And this is just, generally custom metadata is a one-time setup, or a not a super frequent thing that you need to touch. So it's not so bad. So we'll just hit new. And now we're populating those types with records. But remember that those records are still metadata. So we're going to call this one attendance. Wait, no, I went in the wrong one. This is bucket.
And while you populate that here, we've got somebody here, Kenneth, has asked for sort of a recap of what we're working on here. And so, Kenneth, what we've got is a use case where we need to mimic sort of the closed won or closed lost statuses of an opportunity. You remember, if you go into opportunity, there's statuses of not only closed won, closed lost. There's also, had a celebration, or other things. And what we end up doing is having a way for you to reduce that these 5 statuses equal closed won. The rest of them are closed lost. Okay. We're going to be mimicking that with the idea of attendance to an event. Now, we have several kinds or several responses to attendance, and the ones we put in here are attended, unexcused absence, was there but asleep, that sort of thing. So we've got several different understandings of attendance that people can choose from, and we need to be able to, in code, say, okay, well, they were there, physically there, even if they were asleep, right? So we need to be able to map that back to physically there or physically not there. And we're doing that using these custom metadata and metadata relationships. So we've got our bucket, our picklist bucket object, a custom metadata type, which says, okay, on the contact object, we have this field that is going to be bucketed, and that field is our attendance status.
Yep.
And then we will go in one layer deeper and we will set up what we want our buckets to be. So we've got our bucketed pick list. Now if we go into custom metadata again, you'll be able to see that we've got that sort of second level down of pick list bucket, and we can quibble over whether or not that's a great name. But we've got pick list.
Quibble?
And for this one, we're going to say attended or not attended. Okay, so we're going to tie this one. We're going to give it a label of attended. And we're going to tie that to our bucketed pick list of attendance. So we've tied this bucket of attended or attended with its various mappings that equal attended to that particular field on the object. So now we can go in here and say not attended and do the same thing. And, maybe we're looking to see who was physically in the building or something. So even if they were asleep, they were still physically in the building. So that's helpful to know at times. And now we have our third level, which is where we're going to specify that mapping. So if we are part of the bucket of attended, what statuses in the pick list on our contact field equal or are part of the bucket of attended? And I think...
And what were our values again?
Yeah. I can look those up here on, because I'm in Object Manager, even though you can't see my screen.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll go down to contact. I'm just going to sort of narrate this here. Fields and relationships and attendance status. And we had attendance status of partial with a capital P. And
so is that attended or didn't attend?
Let's say that that's attended.
Probably didn't attend.
Didn't attend? Okay.
Attended?
I mean, they were there for part of it. I mean, well, it doesn't matter. Let's do not attended.
We're going to say not.
Okay,
you have to be there the whole time.
Okay. What are we going to do for asleep?
I
mean, they were physically there.
No, you don't get credit for sleeping.
Okay. So we're going to do another one.
Sorry, I should have done
full.
Sleep.
Oh, okay, you can do sleep.
Not attended.
Beth is.
We're harsh in this school or whatever this is. All right, full.
Full.
Is that what I said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Attended. So you can see how these lookups. It's just a lookup, and it brings up the little old school setup lookup window.
All right, now
just like any other.
Excused absence. How are you going to score that one?
They didn't attend. It's just that we had a reason for it.
So not attended?
So that's not attended.
And then unexcused absence. And for those of you keeping score at home, I do believe we've marked all of these as not attended with the exception of full.
That's fine.
That's fine. It's fine.
I don't know.
Okay, so now we've got our custom metadata types here. And we need to be able to do something with those.
Let's just look at the values just so we can see. So we've got all of our pick list values represented here with custom metadata records. All right. All right, fine. Let's just show how easy it is to edit this. We'll give them credit for being asleep. They just had to be there. They didn't have to.
It's like Congress.
I'm just going to leave that one right there.
Says the Canadian. Okay. So we've got...
Well, technically, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we've got our custom metadata set up. Now, how do we actually use this in code? And given our time constraints, I'm going to say let's actually just like write a unit test where we can control the contact's attendance status and then get back its bucketed pick list value. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing you're going to need to do is a DX pull
Yep.
to bring down those
And
records.
I
Oh,
will
hi.
I will do that while you switch back to your main
There we
camera.
go.
And to do a DX pull, I'm just going to pull up the command console. I'm going to do pull source from default scratch org. And our hold music today, I came across this great thing. It's the music, the sounds of Dolly Parton's dulcet tones singing Jolene, but every time you see the word Boolean, you pronounce it like Jolene and you sing the song in your head. So, Boolean, Boolean. And we've got our custom metadata pulled down. What was that?
But where did it go? I
Wait,
was going to make some joke about how I can't unhear that, but um,
you're better off for it.
where did our custom metadata go?
So our custom metadata pulled down into Force App main default, and then as we scroll down, objects, it's here in our objects, which is weird because you're thinking object, it doesn't end in underscore C or without an underscore C because it's a standard object, but it ends up in underscore MDT. But that's where they are. And if we look at our bucketed pick list, you can see our fields. And here is our object field. And you can see that it is a reference to an entity definition. So we're looking up to another bit of metadata there. So that's pretty cool.
And you have what I believe to be a new directory in your Force App main default as well.
Do I now? Where's that main default? Custom
You
metadata.
do.
Look at that. You know what those are?
Because that's the metadata. So they're the records we created, but we were able to pull them down with the xpull because they're like special records because they're metadata records.
They're like super powered records.
Yeah.
Yes. So here are in our custom metadata, we can actually deploy these. You can put them in a change set. You can move them around to sandboxes using XML, that sort of thing, deployments. But they actually show up as custom metadata. And here's our values. Here's the label that we gave it, asleep, and we've passed on that it is part of the pick list bucket attended. Right? So if you're not a big fan of that UI, I'm pretty sure you could just copy and paste some XML with some careful editing here.
Totally.
We've got this here. How do we actually go about using custom metadata in our Apex class? And if you want to intro that, I'm going to create a folder here under our classes so that we can put the organize these things. Custom metadata.
So to reference these custom metadata records in Apex, we just need a SOQL query, just like referencing any other records. Again, this is where we sort of blur the lines between data and metadata, but we can query these double underscore MDT records just like metadata, or just like data, but they're metadata. I knew I was going to say that wrong at least once.
I mean, it's not like you've not got other things going on in the background.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's like every week, sooner or later, my dogs will start barking. I'm like, they're excited about codeLive too. Share the love. So I'm going to create a custom...
At least my 8-year-old hasn't bombarded saying, "Ooh, Mom, lots of code," because that's what he tends to do.
My daughter likes to comment on whether or not she gives me code reviews, and she will fail me if she doesn't like the color or the color of the things on the screen or the music that's playing as I code. So you gotta encourage them to join STEM. I let her do code reviews whenever she would like.
You gotta train her that single character variable names are a no-go.
I know. All right, so we've got a new class here. This is a test class, so I'm just going to nuke that and do @is_test. And we don't need a constructor in a test class because that's just weird. And now we can both start typing away on this. So I'm going to give us a @is_test static void test bucket accepted pick lists positive. That's sort of my go-to way to start. I start on a positive one, and it's not positive in like you can do it. It's positive as in like I'm going to put in good information and I expect to get out good expected results. Right. And also it's when I have a negative test, it's not like bad developer, no donut. It's more like something is intentionally going to go wrong and I want to make sure that my code handles that going wrong thing. But if you use single variable character names, you might hear Beth say bad developer, no donut.
No donuts for you.
So
let's go ahead and just do let's make a list of our, what did we call them? Let's see, where's my objects folder? Over here.
you want the objects folder?
Yeah, so let's do bucketed pick list MDT. So we can call these, wow. I kind of want to say B pick lists, but I'm feeling that you're going to burn me on that. So we'll just call it pick lists for now.
Pick list is great.
And then let's just write our sockle here. So it's, like I said, it's just like any other sockle of any other object. It's just that the object happens to be a custom metadata type. So we would do select ID, developer name, label, and what else did we have on the parent object? We can just go over here. I'm not sure you can.
It's just the fields here.
See if I open things on the.
I can't, but I can show over here on mine here that we've got field and object are our two custom fields.
Right.
So we can do.
So field, object from bucketed pick list DT. Oh, even autofills for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think first thing can we just pull those and us just double check that we're getting how many we expect?
I'm gonna quibble a little bit with the query here because I don't think we need these, not for this test.
No, fair enough. I was just putting everything in.
And then yeah, we can. I'm gonna do test.start test, and down here we'll do test.stop test, and we could just assert that we have the right size. So system assert. So if you're a code snippet person, there is a lovely code snippet library for Apex that gives you a lot of these things to do, like system.assert equals, but the actual like thing you have to type out and then hit tab on is a curse word. Just I'll let you mull on that one. So we're going to say, and I don't remember how many we actually have. We have what? We have one bucketed pick list.
For pick lists, we only have one. Yeah.
And then we'll do pick lists.size. And then because we're good developers, we're going to say we expect one pick list to exist if you have properly set up this repo into an org. But that's not necessarily true. If we think about this, if somebody's dropped this into their own org rather than a brand new one, we may have more than one of these. So should we say that it's assert and say greater than or equal to one?
The type would be fresh.
That's true.
I guess on install of your repo, it should pass, but then they could create more because we didn't go through any of the lockdown stuff.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this assert is pick list size is, I'm just going to modify the assert to, instead of being an equal, is greater than or equal to 1. That's a little bit less fragile. Thoughts on that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
No, I like that.
Okay, I'm going to save it.
So we can say we expect at least one.
At
in
least
your
one. Yep.
message.
So we expect at least one. Pick lists. Okay. And so we've seen it add that there. That's fine. While this is doing its thing and saving, I'm going to hit run test. Boolean. Okay, we have a failure here. Unexpected token.
Oh.
What?
Uh-oh. What did we typo? What did I typo?
That's what I'm wondering too. Apex class trigger ID in. Pushing it work. Okay, that worked. Where Apex class or trigger ID what?
I can't see the error.
Yeah, you can't see the output screen. Maybe it just needs to be rerun again. Failed to run.
If it hadn't fully deployed, it wouldn't pass.
Right, but
So.
it by this point it has fully deployed. Starting Apex, where Apex class or I don't even know where, like. Let's see if this works. We're gonna run all tests. Now. Okay, well, we'll just do it this way. I'm gonna go into the developer console. I've been testing an updated plugin for Visual Studio Code that gives me some more. It's a more concise version of the test results, and I may be having an issue with that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run them from the developer console, which that's metadata catalog. It did not find my class, so that's not the issue I'm having. Why are we not saving? Some more Boolean going on. I need to actually.
Do you have something in your force ignore?
I shouldn't. Force ignore. I always have to remember where that one is. It's just the dot file, right? Force ignore. Anything in here? Nope. Nothing out of the ordinary there. I'm going to put a comment in our class and see if it pushes that. Pushing. Okay, changed. So it actually pushed it. I should be able to see this in the select tests. Let's look here. And we'll do custom metadata recipes test. It pulled it that time. Now let's run it. And that passed. So I think we're doing much better there in terms of getting that working. Let's actually figure out what it would look like to bucket one of these. So if we were to write another unit test that is test, we'll do static void test bucketing contact attendance positive, more of those typos. So we'll need a contact, right?
Yes.
So we're going to use our trigger.
That's your abbreviation for contact?
I mean, it would okay. So they're criminals now. Fine, whatever.
I'm just picking on you.
Contact.
Exactly, they're all criminals.
Contact, and we'll do testfactory.create s object. We'll do new.
Ooh, how fancy.
Contact, and then we'll say true. So we can drop it true to drop in the database. And over here, what we'll do is we'll say, what was our field name? Attendance? What do we call that?
Attendance status, I think.
Attendance status. C. And we'll say that this is equal to asleep. Now, is it case sensitive?
Yes.
So
maybe? I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah.
And then we can do test.start test.
It's dance.
It's what?
And dance.
And then, okay, so how do we go about actually using our buckets with this? So we've got one that's got marked as a contact that's marked as attendant asleep. And do we do a query against the actual bucketed values? Yeah, I'm getting a nod.
Yeah, I would do a query against the custom metadata with like nested queries where the third layer would have the where clause. So you would actually query, I think you have to query it in 2 layers. You have to query for the custom, like the parent, to get the field that you care about. And then you're looking, because what you want to return is the second layer. You want to return the bucket ultimately, right? That's what we're after, is what's the bucket. So we have to get the parent, grandparent, with all the parents, and then filter for the parent that has the child that is asleep.
So I'm going to take a step at this, and you tell me if I'm just crazy. And I'll do select, label, and then we'll do, this is going to tie back to our, what did we call those fields? Because if we start at the bottom, we can query up, and query up a third time. So like where the bucket's parent is, contact. And so the label, and then our custom metadata relationship field on the pick list, bucketed pick list value, because we want the value, right? We're going to have the deleting, retyping in the value part here, because if that's the deepest level custom metadata type.
Yeah, that's the grandchild. Yeah.
And so what our middle one is going to be pick list bucket.
Yep, that's what we called it.
And we want
MDT.
Pick
double underscore MDT.
For the field? Okay.
Yeah.
Or is it underscore
Hang on,
C?
let me check.
Okay, while you do that, I'm going to do pick list, bucketed pick list, MDT dot field or object. And bucket pick list dot, is it underscore C dot field. You're highlighting, but what's going on here?
Oh, whoops, sorry. This is the grandparent, so we can't go there directly. We have to go through the parent.
Which is the pick list bucket. Oh, and then we have to put pick list bucket dot. Gotcha.
And then this would be R.
Yep. So let's
right?
Yep.
So that should work.
Put that on the last one.
Same thing here. And then you want, what were you trying to return here?
Nothing. We got the
just the
we got the object in the field.
Get the ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we got that, and then what we can do is we can say from bucketed pick list value, like I have muscle memory for __ c, and then
Totally.
where label equals con dot attendance
dance. Yeah.
attendance status, and we'll do pick list bucket r dot bucketed pick list r dot object __
We should have just called these grandchild, parent.
I may go in there and
grandparent
rename
or
them.
something.
And this
Yeah.
is it going to be the string representation of this, or do we need the token?
So actually, if you scroll up, you'll see I did add something to the first one, to that query.
Yeah.
So you can see we had field _c, which was an entity lookup to the a field lookup really. And so you can do _r on that to get its qualified API name.
So
which, if I recall correctly, actually gives you the full name, but I don't remember. We can output it and see what it gives us. But we might need object r dot qualified API name. Contact.
Okay, qualified API. So we probably need to add that to our fields. Oh, actually we don't, because
No, you don't if it's just in the where. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, and
And
we
then
don't.
do we want to do like one more for fields?
Yep. And then this is going to be
equals attendance status. I think that's right. This might actually be something weird like contact.attendance status, but we'll see if it passes.
okay. And so
This is live.
this is live, and picklist bucket is going to give us the ID. So we actually probably also want picklist bucket or label, comma, right? So we get the label, because that's what we really want.
There you go.
Yeah. And so we're that and that, okay, and we'll put a semicolon there, and because we're running short on time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to debug this. Debug pick lists.
So I think that the upshot here is you're querying these metadata records as if they were data.
Yeah.
Because they're custom metadata. So you have this extra layer in your schema now where you have metadata that describes metadata. And so you can use it in SOCL to query metadata that then you use that information to drive the behavior of your apps.
Exactly. And that's really powerful. Unfortunately, we've hit our time.
Super powerful.
Dame Breath Brains, thank you very much for joining me today and walking us through this. I think this is one of those like hidden gems of the world of the Salesforce ecosystem, where you can go in and you can do this kind of metadata with relationships to make sure that things are related to other bits of metadata properly, and people may or may not know about them. So hidden gem. I'm going to follow this one up with a blog post, and so we'll have even tighter examples there. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope to see you again next Tuesday. And we'll be working on a custom Visual Studio Code plugin extension pack.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fun times.
Whoa.
All right.
That sounds fun.
Bye-bye.